For more than 40 years, Denzel Washington has stood as one of Hollywood's most unshakable pillars, a man built from discipline, compassion, and faith. His name may shine across movie posters and red carpets, but the strength behind that name was forged long before the cameras ever found him. When people speak of Denzel, they speak of integrity. They speak of a man who turned struggle into steel, silence into purpose, and pain into remarkable grace. From the fiery conviction of Malcolm X to the stormy complexity of Training Day, from the quiet heartbreak of Fences to the triumphant power of Glory, Denzel never simply played characters. He carried them. He poured into them the weight of his own journey, the wounds he rarely showed, and the discipline that saved him long before Hollywood ever could. But behind this mountain of strength was a childhood marked by heartbreak and unanswered questions. Born on December 28, 1954, in Mount Vernon, New York, Denzel entered a world of both struggle and hope. His mother, Lennis, ran a small beauty salon. Its mirrors fogged with steam, its floors coated with the scent of hair oils. She worked tirelessly, her hands rough, her will unbreakable. His father, Reverend Denzel Hayes Washington Sr., was a Pentecostal preacher, a man whose love came not through affection, but through rules, scripture, and stern silence. Their home carried prayers, not hugs, discipline, not softness. And somewhere between those two worlds, his mother's strength and his father's strictness, Denzel learned the first lessons that would shape the man he would become. But when he was 14, everything he thought he understood shattered. His parents' marriage, two people who were night and day, as he once said, quietly collapsed. No shouting, no final warnings, just a sudden, painful emptiness. His father drifted away from the picture. The man who preached about love and salvation had become a distant figure in his son's life. That void pulled Denzel toward the wrong crowd, friends who confused recklessness with bravery. He later said the boys he hung out with ended up serving 40 years combined, but he didn't follow them down that path. Not because he was stronger, but because one woman refused to let him drown. His mother made a choice she knew he'd hate. She sent him to a military academy, strict, cold, demanding. To him, it felt like exile, but it became the turning point of his life. "My mother saved me," he would admit years later. The discipline he learned there became the spine of his entire journey. But what happened next, the twist that changed his entire destiny, was something none of them could have seen coming. Leaving Mount Vernon behind was supposed to be Denzel Washington's escape, but what he stepped into was not comfort. It was survival. When he enrolled at Fordham University in the early 1970s, New York City swallowed him like a storm. The winters cut through his thin jacket. His pockets held little more than bus fare. Some nights he lay in a cold dorm room that rattled with every gust of wind, telling himself morning would come faster if he could just fall asleep. He worked anything and everything, sweeping hallways, loading trucks, cleaning bathrooms, delivering newspapers, jobs that left his hands cracked and his shoes soaked. Some days he survived on nothing but the smell of food drifting from the cafeteria. "I didn't know my purpose," he would later say. "I was just trying to stay afloat." But in the summer of 1975, everything shifted. Denzel took a job as a camp counselor at a YMCA camp in upstate New York. One night, a talent show needed a last-minute performer. He didn't want to go on stage, but someone pushed him into the spotlight. That single moment would mark the beginning of a destiny he didn't yet recognize. He performed a short skit. The room erupted with laughter, and a woman in the crowd leaned forward and told him, "Young man, you were born for this." It wasn't applause he heard. It was clarity. He returned to Fordham with a new sense of direction, switching his major to drama. Suddenly, he had purpose. After graduating, he received a scholarship to study at the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco. But the dream carried loneliness. His tiny rented room smelled of damp wood, and some nights he ate only bread and water. He rehearsed lines beneath the flicker of a weak lamp, the Pacific wind howling against the windows. Eventually, he returned to New York, broke, exhausted, but burning with ambition. He auditioned for everything, and most days the world answered with silence. "We'll call you," they'd say, but no one ever did. He slept on couches, on floors, anywhere he could rest his head, but faith kept pushing him forward. Finally, a small role arrived. A TV film called Wilma. The pay was tiny. The opportunity was enormous. That film led to St. Elsewhere in 1982, the breakthrough that cracked open Hollywood's doors just enough for him to slip through. Every rejection, every lonely night, every skipped meal, he carried all of it with him into every character he played. But even as he rose, Hollywood would soon test him in ways far deeper than talent, testing his convictions, his integrity, and the very foundation of who he was. As Denzel's star began to rise, the spotlight brought not only acclaim, but pressure. Hollywood had a way of lifting men up while quietly testing how much of their soul they were willing to trade. And for Denzel Washington, every new role came with a price. The weight of representing truth in an industry built on illusions. His performance in Cry Freedom earned him the world's attention. Glory stamped his name into history. His characters didn't just speak. They carried the weight of generations of struggle, of dignity lost and reclaimed. But that same intensity drained him. Long nights studying scripts, days running from set to set, weeks where sleep became a luxury. He delivered powerful performances on screen, but off screen, he often found himself staring in the mirror, wondering if he was losing pieces of himself to the machine of Hollywood. Then came a moment that would define his integrity forever. In 1986, early in his career, Denzel was offered a role that promised instant fame, prestige, and poison. The script twisted racial pain into spectacle, turning trauma into entertainment. Under the fluorescent lights of a casting office, he held the pages and felt something inside him tighten. It was the kind of role many actors would accept without hesitation, but he knew it would chain him to a path he could never walk back from. Unsure, he sought advice from the one man who had faced similar crossroads. Sidney Poitier, the legend, listened quietly, then told him something that would shape the rest of Denzel's life. The first roles you choose would decide the roles they offer you for the rest of your career. That night, Denzel closed the script and walked away. It was a decision that cost him opportunities. Rooms suddenly went cold, some doors closed altogether. But it also carved his legacy. From that moment forward, he chose roles that meant something, even when they were harder, even when the money was less. His silence, his discipline, his unwavering moral compass, those became the armor he wore in an industry that pushed so many to compromise. As his fame grew, so did the pressure. He watched the world shift after September 11th and returned to New York not as a star, but as a grieving son of the city. He mentored rising actors quietly, supporting young talent without expecting anything in return. And one of those young dreamers was a man the world would later come to adore, Chadwick Boseman. But even with all the triumphs, the applause, and the iconic performances, Denzel was still carrying a quiet exhaustion, the kind that comes from carrying greatness while guarding your soul. And soon, life would test him again, not as an actor, but as a husband and father struggling to protect the very home he built from the shadows of his past.